All right, welcome, kings and queens. Today we are talking SWV and Escape. Yes, one of my favorite reality shows. Um, are y'all ready to jump in? Look, this episode, I don't know about this one. This one kind of made me feel some kind of way in one portion of it, but I'll get to that. But as I was watching the episode, something occurred to me based on my opinion, because I know how y'all can get for those of you that are tuned in. But based on my opinion, as I was looking at the two sisters, the two Scott sisters, Tamika and Latasha, in my opinion, Tamika and Latasha don't have similar features to me. When I was kind of looking at skin tone, yes, absolutely. Height, yes. And now we know they both have the same mother and the same father, but they look different. And Tamika shared that she looks more like her father than she does her mother. And maybe that's the reason. I just wanted to share that. So they start the scene off with Todd and Latasha. They're having a one-on-one in a museum. Immediately, I'm picking up on the fact that, I'm picking up that Latasha may be somewhat socially awkward, in my opinion. That's normal, though, if you consider her life from adolescence to womanhood. She spent a great majority of her life performing and entertaining large groups of people. She may not have had the time, or maybe her mother and father did not invest the time to assist her with perfecting those social skills. And when I was gauging her interaction with Taj, I just picked up on that. I was like, she's socially awkward. She puts on. But I wonder if she's ever had a moment just to be a real person, right? And that gave me a visual. And I said, maybe that's why Candy was able to pick up very quickly when they were younger, because you remember Candy said, your sister has never liked me. And maybe that's why it was easy for Candy to pick up on the fact that she felt like Latasha didn't like her when they first met in the group, because Latasha, in my opinion, didn't have the finesse, y'all call it finesse, coping skills to be able to mask her facial expressions. Now I'm connecting that with she's just socially awkward. They get to a part where Taj and Latasha are walking through the museum and they stop at a particular area, and Taj points up to say, see, look at you guys. You basically made the wall of fame. Did you see the facial expression? When Latasha looks up and she sees a picture of herself, in that moment I was like, oh, she doesn't like that picture. And here's why. It's a bigger version of herself. And remember, that's the version of herself that she has not come to accept. And that's the version of herself that she felt like she was shamed and also didn't really allow her to excel and or accelerate in her career because of her size. So in that moment, I could tell she, looking at herself then, made her somewhat uncomfortable. That's the girl she doesn't want to be. That's the girl that still lives inside of her, that breeds insecurity. That's the girl that Rocky, her husband, continues to address and control. And that's the girl that Rocky cheats on. You know what I found ironic, though, when it comes to women, men, celebrities, entertainers? There's no amount of money, handbags, makeup, homes, cars that can resolve unhealed pain. In my opinion, Latasha's pain is so evident. And Latasha, I have no idea why you continue to hold this man down. Ain't that much love in the world, honey, to allow a man to step all over your heart like that, publicly, privately, professionally, and personally. But let's get into it. For those of you who are just tuned in, or if you're new to the channel, welcome to the palace. I am Queen Sheba. I cover a variety of hot topics specific to reality television, but most importantly, I hone in on the psychological and the behavioral traits of the Black experience. So as the ladies are having their one-on-one, Taj and Latasha, Todd shared a bit of fun fact. She shared that Destiny's Child used to be huge fans of SWV. And I can see that. I can most certainly see that during that time when Destiny's Child was rising on the come up. Didn't they sample one of SWV's tracks, if I'm correct? I don't know. I kind of remember some type of collaboration. But she brought that up. I thought that was cute. So Taj begins to probe Latasha. Hey girl, what's up? Give me a little bit more information. What's going on between you and your sister, Tamika? And I'm not going to lie, y'all. The first thing I thought is, wait a minute, is Rocky there in that museum? Because, girl, Rocky don't let Latasha talk without approving it. I actually paused and I expected Rocky to interrupt that scene, but he didn't. I just thought that was funny because Candy did label him as her brain. So I was literally waiting for her brain to walk in to that scene. And he didn't. So Todd, she calls out the fact, right, in her confessional that Latasha is extremely vague with her answers and very nonchalant when it comes to her and Tamika and not really wanting to give any detail around that and actually kind of pretending like, I really don't know what you're talking about. It's this. She talked about me. She body shamed me. And Todd is like, that's it? Yeah, well, then it's my mother. No, there has to be more. And Latasha just pretended like, no, there's no more. That's it. So then Latasha, she lets Taj know that she had a meeting for a solo deal and she's planning on leaving Escape to pursue her solo career. Here's the thing, girl. You can do all that, but you're not boss enough to communicate and just let them know up front. It's like leaving a job, putting your damn 2-week notice, but you don't want to do that. And that's wrong because you want to leave them and abandon them and ambush them with your absence. Escape, here's what I need y'all to do. Let her go. As much as I love Latasha and Escape, I feel like Escape is a great fit for Latasha. But at some point, when people don't want to be in relationship with you, let her go, y'all. Because here's some things. You can find plenty of black girls that can sing her ass under the table, okay? And sing her parts better than she ever could. Don't ever get it twisted, honey, and think you're the end all be all. Because there's some little girl or some young lady on somebody's college campus, in somebody's church, in somebody's hood that could sing your ass out the door. So let her go. And not only do you let her go, replace her. Replace her. And I know it's going to be hard because there's a sister dynamic there. Replace her. Get a new Latasha to sing her parts. In other words, take on the attitude with her. I can show you better than I can tell you. If you want to go, go. If Rocky thinks your career would be much more successful with you out here by yourself, go, baby. Go. So she's leaving the group, but she's not telling the group that she's leaving. She'd rather indulge in toxic, bitter ass behavior. Make it make sense, okay? Slamming doors on her way out, literally, by way of her behavior. The mess of it all. So they shift to a scene of Coco meeting out with her real friends. She was very happy to see them. You could tell she hadn't seen them in quite some time. And she made it clear to us in her confessional that she really don't like to hang around Hollywood folks. She likes normal. When she's off work, she prefers to engage with normal people. And these two individuals have been her ride or dies since day one. Her friend Troy asked her, "How are you doing?" And she says, "My mental health is good." Before she said anything else, I knew in that moment, I said, you know what? She's had some behavioral health challenges. And not soon thereafter, she opened up and she discussed that she was diagnosed a few years ago, I think she said in 2017, with bipolar disorder. And every now and again, she has manic episodes. Wow, y'all. Wow. I don't know if you know much about manic depression or manic episodes, but it's a lot to bear. It's a lot on your family, your friends, your spouses. It's a lot when they go into those manic episodes. It's like a whirlwind of a roller coaster. And in that moment, I said, you know what? We have a lot to be grateful for, especially when it comes to peace of mind. Because when you think about all of the things that you're up against in life, it's a blessing to have a sound mind. When you look at it like that from that perspective. Then she shared something kind of scary. She said what really drove her to seek care was because she found herself contemplating taking someone else's life. And she said it in a joking way. And I was like, oh no. Because when you couple bipolar disorder with manic episodes, yeah, there could have been a good chance that she could have delivered on that. So that's just a little bit about the first scenes that they utilized when opening up the episode. Okay, remember when I said I don't know what to really feel about this episode? Man, it wasn't that production did a bad job. I was all in my feelings, feeling kind of some kind of way. Probably more irritated, and it was for one particular scene. It's a scene that caught me off guard. It was with Tamika and Miss Gloria, who's her mother. And Miss Gloria drives up to her daughter's house, and she comes to the door, and they have this awkward moment where they're both speechless. They're just kind of looking at each other. Miss Gloria, in my opinion, greeted Tamika like she would greet a friend that she's been in an argument with. There was no maternal energy at all. Just keep that in mind. And Tamika walks her mother in. She's like, hey, I made your favorite salmon and cabbage and all of that. That was a very kind gesture, considering their last encounter. It was very, explosive, abrupt, confrontational. But child, Miss Gloria was still looking at her sideways. So Miss Gloria starts the conversation off. And at first I thought, okay, she's opening up the floor. She started off the conversation by sharing with her daughter, you broke my heart the last time you were at my house and the things that you said and the way you behaved. And then she asked Tamika, tell me what's going on between the three of us, you, me, and Latasha. Child, Tamika couldn't even get a word in edgewise about how she felt regarding her mother playing favoritism because Miss Gloria was not having that. She interrupted. She justified her reason for being more open to Latasha's feelings, opposed to Tamika's feelings. And it was so disappointing to me in that moment to see her as a mother take that tone and to take that direction with her child. And if you looked at the physiological display of behavior from Latasha, what really bothered me, Tamika, I felt like she regressed back to being a little girl in childhood. She kind of sat there with her arms folded, her face went blank, she disconnected emotionally, and that just triggered the hell out of me. Okay? Very disappointing. I felt like Miss Gloria was unnecessarily confrontational, and I also felt like, once again, Miss Gloria, you felt to legitimize how your daughter may have felt. Child, Miss Gloria, in my opinion, is crazy as a bedbug. She was rolling her neck and snapping her fingers. Miss Gloria, no ma'am. And then you brought up the fact and you threw up in your daughter's face that you had to raise them on your own as a single mother. That's out of line and that's out of pocket, in my opinion. Their father leaving you should not be placed as burdens on them. Miss Gloria, Miss Gloria, Miss Gloria, you absolutely dropped the ball in this moment. You really did. Why in the hell are you talking to your daughter like she's some woman off the street? You became really defensive. There was no affection, no understanding, none of that. You were not curious to know more about why she felt the way she felt. You shut her down. I told y'all when she came in to that house that she greeted her daughter as if she was another woman that she was having beef with. Ma'am, you're beefing with your daughter simply because she reminds you of your ex-husband who walked out on you and broke your heart. And it's almost like, I hate to say it, and I like this lady, but it's almost like Tamar Braxton's mother, Miss Evelyn Braxton, who's carried that hurt and that bitterness with her throughout the course of the years. So much so where it's really impeded the family to come together and interact as a village. And I feel like that's what Miss Gloria could be possibly going through. She has not processed that hurt and the pain when that man left her. And she's taking it out on Tamika. And then you take up for Rocky. Out of all people, Rocky, your lovely son-in-law who is cheating on your daughter, your prized possession, and has been cheating on her for a numerous amount of years and has a side baby, if not more. I don't like that. I didn't like the way she was looking at her daughter with disdain in her eyes and in her face. And I also hate the fact that black mamas think that they're off limits from being corrected and checked. And they can do no wrong because I am the mama. No, we're not doing that in 2023. Some of you have been the most toxic, okay? The most toxic influences on your children who grow up to be problematic as adults. You couldn't even tell that girl that you loved her with the level of softness. It was a very hard I love you. I hope, Miss Gloria, that you're able to move on from that pain that you've endured. We understand that your heart was broken. But ma'am, you've got to get some therapy to be able to overcome that. Because if not, you and Tamika are going to repeat this cycle over and over and over again. I don't like this scene. I didn't like this scene at all. It made me very uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean I'm right just because I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. I didn't like how she did Tamika in this. And then towards the end, she says, I'm always here for you, no matter what. And she opened her arms wide. And I was like, okay, here we go. Here we go. It's about to come together. But instead of her leaning in towards her daughter, she made her daughter come to her. No, Miss Gloria. She needed you to be the mother. She needed you to be the nurturer. She needed you to lean into her. Once again, you're making her work for your love and your affection. And those are things that you're not going to be able to see and work on unless you work with a qualified therapist. Real quick, let's talk about Lily. So Lily has a scene with her son. Just kind of talk through his career aspirations and also her aspirations as an author and respecting the process of life. Okay, Sister Hot Pussy. Because she said that's her alter ego, Sister Hot Pussy. Lily feels like there's a market available for women to own their sexuality. Lily, I don't know what world you're living in, because they're not holding back. Women of today are owning their sexuality and then some. Have you not seen what we see on Instagram and social media and OnlyFans? Oh, honey, they have kicked down the door in the market to owning their sexuality. And they're owning a little bit of everybody's, if the truth be told. So I don't know. Maybe she was talking about middle-aged women, middle-aged to older women. But girl, don't nobody want to see that. No, ma'am. Lily also shared that she was homeless after the group broke up in 1998. I knew that. I remember reading that many, many years ago. And I remember being shocked hearing that a member of SWV was homeless. And I also thought I read somewhere that she slept on a park bench before. I could be wrong, but I thought I remember reading that. As she goes on to tell her story to her son, she says that time period in her life shaped and molded her in so many ways. So she tells her son, none of us are exempt from going through the process. And guess what, y'all? That was beautiful. She's absolutely correct. Success does not come overnight. And even if it does, you are not guaranteed sustainability when it comes to that. Nobody is exempt from experiencing hardships by way of life and just different shit that comes your way. Lily, awesome job. I love how she's so relatable and gets to the point. Lily brings a level of groundedness to me. I can most certainly relate to her just as an everyday woman. So great job, Lily. All right, so let's move on to Latasha Scott and Rocky Bivens. So they transition to a scene of Latasha in a studio. And she's demoing what I assume to be some of her songs that she's written or has had written for her. The beat was pretty catchy, you know. Damn. I don't know if the solo thing is going to work out for her. This is something that she's been going hard at for many, many years. And it's been rumored that her attachment to Rocky has impeded her progress in the music industry because nobody wants to work with him, you know, which takes me to him and his persona. So he walks into the studio, and when he walks into the studio, he does this little dance, and you see in that instance, I saw his full personality. This fun guy appeared to be a fun guy. And I think that's the Rocky that those side chicks fall for. I think that's his persona in the streets, a party guy, a guy that likes to have a really good time. I don't know. That's when that side chick is saying, I held on for so long, that's the Rocky I think that she's talking about. But you can really tell that the rest of the men in the room don't really fool with him, because just go back and take a look at their facial expressions when he walks in. Peep this though. So he and Latasha, they sit down just to connect. Everybody else leaves the room. They have a one-on-one. And Tasha tells him that she got a text from Candy and she was invited to come talk about the possibility of collaborating, like co-headlining with SWV. The first thing he said is, so are you going? He didn't care about the details of it, the business components of it, what the profit would be, nothing. None of the, so are you going? And this is what I got from that. I kind of felt like he was like, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I took it another way. It's almost like he's saying, so you didn't run it by me first? And I hope that you're not thinking about going anywhere without talking to me. That's what I got from that, based on all of the things we've heard about him. And now that we know she tends to not to like to speak and or make a decision without him. That's what I took from that. So you going? I don't know. Okay, so we're going to transition to Coco and Jalen, because last week they left off and they gave us a sneak peek of Jalen being upset and crying, and he was talking about his mental health. They bring us up to speed this week on that episode, and what's going on is, first of all, let me just say, I was completely confused at first because I'm like, where are they? And then I had to rewind quite a few times because I kept rewinding, and then I would kind of wander off in my thoughts. And I realized, well, hold on. Coco ain't doing too bad. Coco has a home and a townhome, whatever that is. What is that? A penthouse? Townhome? Condo. That's what it is, a condo. So they were in Coco's condo, and Jalen shares with his mom that he wants to drop out of school to pursue his creativity in the music industry. Now, I'm with Coco on this one. He's only 19 years old, you guys. And I think parents should still be hands-on with their children at this tender age. He's not grown yet, but he's 19. But he's not in high school. He's at this sweet little age. I feel like kids quit too easy nowadays. You know, they take up things and they're like, I don't want to do that. I have no interest in that. And they quit. And we just heard Lily share that when the group broke up, she didn't have any income coming in. And as a result, she was homeless. And then she had to go back, right? After sleeping in her car for months, she ended up having to go back to school to get her GED. So I'm with Coco. That's a hard no. Like, you can't just drop out of school because you want to, especially without a plan. You know, sometimes we got to step in and push our children and be like, hey, listen, I get that, but that's how you feel. You're giving me no plan. And as a result, you're going to stay in school. Then he shares that he becomes really emotional, and he shares that he feels like he has to sacrifice his happiness to make everybody else happy. Now, Jalen, you need to stop. You're only 19. What major sacrifices have you made? And maybe I'm being I don't want to be disrespectful. Maybe I'm not connecting the dots, but I don't think you've made the level of sacrifices that your mother has. And it's not a competition, but sweetheart, you're at an age where you've been taken care of all of your life. That's a bit privileged of you to say that. I don't really think you understand or have a full idea of what it feels like to really sacrifice your happiness to take care of somebody else. So I'm going to let you slide with that one because you're just young and you're trying to get your way and you're going to say whatever you need to say. So his mother is his financial provider, and she's raised her son with the help of his grandmother, and I think her name is Tiba. So they get the grandmother on the phone. She listens to Jalen, and at first she's like, no, But then he says, listen, and then he gives her a plan. Why don't I take off for a year, see how things go, and if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to school. And the grandmother said, you know what? Now that's a really good plan. So at the end, they all worked together as a family. They decided that they would allow him the flexibility and the freedom to take off for a year to explore the music career. And I thought that was fair. I loved how they were able to come together as a village and work things out. So good luck, Jalen, with your music career. Now, both groups are on their way to hold a meeting, right? To talk about this co-headlining tour. Now, immediately I noticed differentiators between the two groups. SWV has solid management, and they're there. Like, they have representation, a management team that can sit there, soak up everything that's being said, and then go to the back and say, okay, from a business perspective, this works, that doesn't work, yada, yada, yada. Escape, on the other hand, they don't have a management team. And that's one reason they should not be headlining. SWV seems to be solid. They have a clear understanding of what the goal is. Whereas Escape, on the other hand, seems to be fragmented and disheveled. That's the second reason they should not be headlining. I feel like Escape have allowed their personal feelings and their emotions to stand in the way of business. SWV is booked and busy. Escape is looking to be booked and busy. And that's the third reason you should not be headlining. So everybody gets there. They sit in a round circle to be able to talk about how should we approach this, okay? Both groups come to the consensus that they do want to work together. Yay! It took Latasha a moment, but she got there. She put her hand in the circle and said, okay. SWV's management team let them know, listen, we only have a month to be able to get this thing together. Before he could even finish, Candy jumps in. I'm going to say you kind of bogarted your way in with that, Candy. That was very bullish. Not bullyish, bullish. Like you came right in and you're like, so who's headlining? And they're like, wait a minute. Can we get through the logistics first? So Candy stops the productivity of the meeting to talk about basically who's the most important group. I felt like the arrangement that SWV's management team came up with was fair. And they said, why don't we headline it? It's two dynamic groups. We'll just co-headline it. Hello, Candy. You don't have a management team, right? Or one that you're happy with, correct? Your group is in the middle of a big rift, correct? And yet you think that you should headline a tour that only 3 of you are going to go on and one of your members is missing? No, ma'am. You don't even have all of your members. No, ma'am. And then you called it your tour and Todd had to correct you. And at that point, Coco came out. She came out swinging and she's like, I'm done. What are we doing? And that's a professional who understands time is of essence and time is money. And you were not going to waste her time in that moment, and she walked the hell out. Kandi, this is probably the first time ever that Kandi has put a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm talking about over the course of me watching her on reality television. Kandi, you put a bad taste in my mouth. That was very, very unprofessional and very, very domineering. You know, I think you took the fun out of things and you brought it to a space that it really didn't need to get to. You came with a different agenda. And like Lily said, this is a love tour. This is about us as women, as community, our fan base. This is going to be epic. And I feel like Kandi just, you ruined that, girl. It's like a record scratching. SWV has earned their spot in the music arena as a headliner. Yeah. Kandi, I wonder if what you did in that moment is some of what Latasha has been referring to of her interactions with you in the past. I wonder. And it got me to thinking. But let's get back on track. If we keep it real, SWV is not hurting for tours. You know what I mean? They have the fan base and they're moving and grooving, and they have been for all of these years. Y'all just got back on the scene, Kandi, after you did the versus battle with Escape. So I guess my question to you, Kandi, is who really needs who? Because SWV has proven over and over again that they can stand on their own. I'm needing a little bit of understanding, Kandi. Why in the world would you come in there and think that because you and Tiny have built a fan base based off of reality television, that you deserve to be the headliner?